Voter ID. Plans that the government put forward said to help with voter fraud by introducing photo ID for voters. Yes, another covert method of making people give up their right to privacy without realising they're actually doing it. The plans were included in the Elections Bill, which is said to make changes to the running of UK parliamentary elections, local council elections in England, and Police and Crime Commissioner elections in England and Wales. The Election Bill's proposal would require people to show an approved form of photo ID before voting, and is said would fulfil a manifesto promise made by the government. However, it has been proved quite controversial. In fact, the House of Lords has defeated the government's proposal for photo ID, and now the government must decide whether to appeal the decision to have it overturned. Now, can you imagine the police rubbing their hands together on vote day in their morning brief? Right, lads. Sorry, Mabel, I'm still getting used to your new identity. I hope you can forgive me. Right, lads, and attack helicopters. Mustn't be discriminatory against Mabel's perceived identity now, must we? It's vote day. This is one of the largest intelligence gathering events of the year, people. Everyone's going to be having their voter ID on them, so they can't deny having anything to ID themselves with. Now, this means that not only can we get names of people we've been trying to identify for months, but also it's a great opportunity to stop ID and or search everyone we come into contact with. We're going to have so much fun with the minority groups on this one as well, and in the process we can even try and find out who they're voting for and weed out some of those far right nutcases and then go on to target them in the future. It's like Christmas and birthday rolled into one. So get out there and start abusing your powers. One of the concerns about voter ID is that it could very well discourage people from voting. The government say that under its plans, people without an approved form of ID would be able to get a free voter card from the council. However, Lord Willits said it would be cheaper to broaden the range of acceptable forms of identification. He expressed concern that hundreds of voters per constituency could be turned away from polling stations at the next election. Imagine if the outcome of the next election is a modest majority, where throughout the day the media story has been voters being turned away from polling stations. That seems to me a very significant political and constitutional risk that does need to be taken into account if this measure is introduced. Labour's Baroness Hayman supported his amendment, arguing it would help to mitigate against the serious concerns about the impact of photographic voter identification on turnout. Cabinet Office Minister Lord True argued against Lord Willits' amendment, saying many of the proposed alternative forms of ID did not include a photo, and so they could not provide the appropriate level of proof that the bearer is who they say they are. Independent crossbench peer Lord Woolley of Woodford. Woolley of Woodford. I've got to be honest, that sounds like a character from Greendale. Some of you youngsters won't get that reference, but you guys my age and above will. Founder of Operation Black Vote, a campaign to boost voter registration, wanted to remove the ID proposals altogether, arguing that instances of voter fraud were very low. The Elections Bill is still being scrutinised by the Lords, after which time it will go back to the Commons for them to decide whether to accept or reject the changes submitted by the Lords. Of course, we know the government won't take lightly the refusal to give people more ID, so I'll be surprised if the Lords' recommendations are not rejected and the Commons put this through again. Big thank you to channel supporters, one and all, especially these guys. Your support is truly appreciated. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.